I'm so excited to be kicking off the show today with a guest in studio. Her name is Danielle Chaffin, and I know that because I asked her, how do I pronounce your name, yesterday when I was scheduling this interview. Danielle does a lot of reporting on the American trucking industry on X, and I have been finding myself getting her reporting sent to me by a lot of people that I respect, and as I'm digging in on the reporting, it's eye-opening on so many levels. Yesterday, we had another trucking crash, this time in Ontario, California. 3 people died as of my last check. A horrible situation. And then you see Bill Malusian reporting that it's another illegal alien. Danielle is in the weeds on this kind of stuff, and I'm excited to have you here. Can you give me a little breakdown on why you're so passionate about this reporting and where your expertise comes from before we kind of start diving into everything?
Yeah, absolutely. I am third generation in the trucking industry. My grandfather's a truck driver, retired just a few years ago. My father was a truck driver, and he's in management now, but still on the road when he has to. So I have quite the history. I grew up in the industry, and I went to college thinking I could get out of the trucking industry, out of logistics. I went and got a master's degree in social work, learned a lot on the politics and policy side of it, which I had no idea that it would ever come back to where it is today. So I went into that for a little bit. I was there for a couple of years, and then I left, came back to the logistics industry. I work at a tech company, Revenova. We're a TMS. It's up in Chicago. And I just hate where the trucking industry is today. Our generational American trucking companies have been suffering for going on for maybe 5 years now. And when I really started digging into it, I realized really what was going on and how we got to where we are. We're at the tail end of a mess.
So it's a personal fight for you.
Absolutely.
And this feels really personal. And
Absolutely.
Thank you for laying out your kind of your experience here, because it paints a bigger picture of what's going on. So I guess my first question would be is how bad is the trucking industry? Is this an overblown right-wing conspiracy theory on the internet, or are we just paying more attention now than we ever have been before?
It's certainly not a conspiracy. Truck drivers are everywhere on every highway in America. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle that you're on, you are impacted by trucks, whether it is getting the stuff on the shelves in the stores or getting your Amazon package delivered. Everything touches a truck at some point. It does not matter what your political stance is.
And we love our truckers. We have a huge trucking audience here, and these guys are the best. And,
oh my goodness,
and girls, they're awesome. So
yes.
we love you guys.
Absolutely. American heroes is what I call them. The issues that we have in trucking are massive. We had an influx during COVID of bringing in more truck drivers because we believe that there was a truck driver shortage. There has never been a truck driver shortage in America.
And you highlighted that in your reporting. I believe it's like 17% increase in truck drivers since the beginning of the Biden administration.
It is insane. We issue 400,000 CDLs per year.
Seems like a lot.
It is a lot. We do have problems with pay and turnover and the way truck drivers are treated. Absolutely. We do not have a shortage of truck drivers. So when that narrative was pushed year over year over year for decades, then COVID happens. We need truck drivers. And so we relaxed a lot of our requirements for those truck drivers, and we insourced labor.
So the solution to the perceived truck driver shortage was importing new truck drivers.
Mm-hmm.
But then we found ourselves in a situation where these new truck drivers that we've imported, they can't speak English.
Correct.
They can't read English. And we find them in a lot of situations like the crash in Florida, pulling an illegal U-turn across a highway, killing a family, or in Ontario, California, just yesterday, crashing into a vehicle and killing 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And that English language proficiency, that law has been on the books since 1937. So that's not something new that like Trump just pulled out of nowhere and was like, we're doing this because we want to exclude this whole group of people. It's been there. I believe it was the Obama administration that relaxed the English language proficiency. And so instead of a driver being taken out of service when he's pulled into a weigh station and has to like get out of the truck and take a timeout, it was relaxed to a violation, which is like you or I getting a warning ticket, like a slap on the wrist kind of thing. Trump reinstated that as an out-of-service violation. And so that was step one of trying to save American trucking.
But it seems like it's an uphill battle to save American trucking.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it is. There are some states that are doing really great at enforcing that English language proficiency. And then there are some states like California who have issued one so far. And when they get a violation on the violations, when I go through the data and analyze it, it also tells me where the trucking company is from, like where they're based. And so California has issued one of those violations, but they have over 600 drivers in other states that have gotten pulled over or went through the weigh station and gotten that violation.
So, and it seems like this is just a spider web. Like we can go in so many different directions.
Oh my goodness,
here.
yeah.
So how many illegal alien truckers do you estimate are on the roads today?
I would say it depends on what day you ask me. Today, I would say that there are probably upwards of 300,000.
300,000.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so this is just to kind of stand back and zoom out. This is 300,000 people that are taking jobs from American citizens.
Correct.
This is 300,000 people that could be putting your family's life at danger on the roads.
Correct.
300,000 people that could possibly not even know the language and be out there driving around.
Yep.
State to state to state.
Yep. And when we give out those CDLs, it's the non-domiciled CDL, which was never intended for foreign nationals. But again, we relaxed basically all the requirements to enforce this labor.
Can you step back and explain the difference between a regular CDL and a non-domicile CDL?
Yep. So a regular CDL is for an American citizen who has a home address that they can be issued a CDL.
Okay.
Non-domiciled, the original intention and purpose was for if you were hired by a trucking company and you live in Tennessee, and the trucking company that hired you, they're based out of, let's say, Texas. You go to their driving school in Texas, you take the test in Texas, you get your CDL from the Texas DMV. Then you come back to Tennessee, you have 30 days. In Texas, you're issued the non-domicile because you don't live there.
Got you.
And so you have 30 days once you move back to Tennessee, and Tennessee will give you your regular CDL.
So it makes a lot of sense for how that would work for an American citizen, but
Correct.
I can already see where the cracks in the armor are for how that works with a non-citizen.
Correct. And so now the majority of those non-domiciled CDLs are foreign nationals, people that are not American citizens.
And I think it's fair to point out that these could be migrants that were flown in by Biden that are temporary protected status, or they could be people that snuck into the country.
Correct.
Point blank.
Yep. And some states have done a decent job. Tennessee doesn't even issue non-domiciled licenses, which is phenomenal. I think there's 5 states that don't issue them.
Where would you put, and I know it's kind of like a sidebar, but where would you put Tennessee as far as states go with the trucking industry?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Absolutely.
Top 5.
Absolutely.
That feels good.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yep. Tennessee is phenomenal with the weigh stations. I think the last time I looked at the ELP violations, we were like number 3, which I-40 runs all the way through Tennessee.
Right.
So we have a lot of traffic coming through. But the Tennessee Highway Patrol is doing a phenomenal job.
So we see these crashes, and then we wonder, how did this guy get a license?
Yep.
And then a lot of your reporting has been on the fly-by-night companies that are registered to the same address, where it's like you're almost playing whack-a-mole. Even if you were to take out one of these companies that's issuing CDLs to non-citizen drivers, it's like 10 pop up in their place. It reminds me like Mickey Mouse with the axe and the broom, you know?
Yeah. And that's what it is. And that's why I try to keep up with social media. At this point, I really can't. But so many people are like, who's the employer? We need to jail them. By the time we get there, they will have already changed companies and changed the numbers on the side of their truck. And so all of the changes have to come from the administration. Because if we continue going after one truck driver, one trucking company, we'll never get anywhere.
It just won't. It won't happen.
No. There was one I just reposted the other night, or I just reposted last night, but it's one apartment unit, not the complex, just one unit. They had 5 trucking companies in the unit. And so when these people come in, these people, not American citizens, and I don't say that in a like super disrespectful manner, but I'm also very angry today.
I like the anger, but we're also being conversational, so don't. This isn't a derogatory thing. This is just we're speaking.
It
facts.
is, and it is facts. So they come into the United States, and in certain groups, every single person will register with the USDOT to get their own authority. And so they stack up those authorities, the trucking companies. When one gets placed out of service, like the one in Ontario, California today, they may place that one out of service. They have 20 more.
So that would be the trucking company that gave the CDL to the illegal alien driver. So they'll come in and they'll say, you guys are shut down. And they're like, yeah, no problem, because I have 7 other companies from this same exact address.
Correct. And even when we start looking at, so on those inspections, when they're pulled into the weigh station, they also log the VIN on the truck. And so we can go in and look at that VIN and see how many trucking companies it's been associated with. And the dates will all line up. And it's not always a red flag per se, because trucks can be sold. A driver can go work somewhere else. Those are easy to pick out and say, no, that's not an issue. But some of these, the entire fleet of trucks will move from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And they just keep going, and no one stops them.
So what if they put you in charge, what are ways that we could theoretically go after this and actually make a dent?
It is very simple and basic logic programming software to pick out all of the matching addresses first, matching names, matching email addresses, and then match up those VINs. So easy to group those together.
You could probably do that with AI.
The data is so bad in the DOT database, like ChatGPT struggles.
Really?
I can't use it most of the time, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's that bad.
That's a whole nother layer to the onion.
Yes. Like, for example, there's one apartment complex in California, and had I not used Google Maps, I would have never known this one. One apartment complex, there's 50, I think we're up to 62 trucking companies in that apartment complex now. One building, it can be registered in 2 different cities. So one city is Jurupa Valley, and the other one is a different city, but it's the same address, same building. And so if I use AI to just pull that, it's going to group them in separate groups.
So is it as simple as just auditing all these trucking companies?
Yeah.
That would be the end all be all?
Yeah. So that would be step 1, is to group them and start auditing them. And they're all grouped together. So there's a lot of them, I will say that. But they're easy to group together. And then when the new trucking companies register, if we even did the most simple matching on existing companies, we shouldn't even issue that authority. But we do.
It's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
And this is just still, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg on what you've discovered.
Yes.
You got some time to hang out, right?
Yes.
Got a little bit of time. Danielle Chaffin is in studio. What is your Twitter handle so that we can get out there, so that way people can follow you for all of your reporting? Absolutely.
On X, I am maybe Danielle with 3 E's at the end.
Maybe Danielle, 3 E's at the end. It's an account that you need to follow, especially if you're a trucker out there. Some of the best reporting on the internet is done by Danielle in this field. You see these accidents and they're horrifying, and then you see who was driving and you go, how did this happen? So that's why we have Danielle in here. Danielle, how did this happen? How do we find ourselves in such a mess in America that you have these accidents being caused by non-citizens and illegal aliens on our highways? Is it just a lack of caring, or is it not people just not paying attention, or is it more insidious than that?
I think it's all of the above. depending who's doing what. We handed out hundreds of thousands of employment authorization documents, EAD cards. It's not a visa, it's not an H-1B, it's not a H-2A, it's their card is a EAD card. We handed out hundreds of thousands of those, and that's what they were using to get the CDLs. And so Secretary Duffy, his interim final rule that just came out, removes the EAD cards from being eligible to get a CDL, which is phenomenal. We're still going to have issues, and it doesn't set all of the current ones as like revoked. Hopefully we'll get there. I'm not sure. All of those EAD cards are handed out. All these guys get CDLs. The CDL schools are private, so anyone basically can spin up a CDL school and train these guys. Some of them, Google reviews on CDL schools are a gold mine.
Really?
Of intel. Oh my goodness, yeah. You can go on there and just start reading them, and it will be 2 days, 7 days, 12 days for the non-citizens.
Really?
Getting through trucking school, getting their CDLs.
You said 2 days?
Oh, yeah. I've seen 2 days.
That's horrifying.
Absolutely horrifying.
So when you say EAD, and again, excuse my ignorance, but I'm not a pro. That's why I have you in here. So is that when we're seeing the licenses that are given out that say no name given? Is that a direct result of those EADs? Because to see a license, I mean, there was one on the DHS website where it literally said no name given.
Yep.
How on earth does anyone think that can pass the sniff test?
I have hundreds of copies of no given name or no name given. I am so confident that 100% of those are fraudulent. That isn't necessarily on the DMV. That comes from the immigration document that they're given.
So it's similar to the way you would see, and I saw this firsthand with migrants flying from Phoenix to Tennessee, funny enough. This was back in 2023, where they would, on their airplane ticket, it would say no name given. Is that kind of like following that same process?
Yeah, exactly. 95% of those CDLs, the no name givens, are coming out of California. And it's interesting. The CDL and the name can't necessarily be changed, but when they register the trucking companies, they'll initially register it to match their identity, quote unquote. But then they will, after that trucking company is approved by the DOT, then they will go in and update the contact name to a legal name. It'll be first and last name. There's no name, no given name is gone.
Really?
Yeah. And we have, the last time I counted them, it was 600 and something no given name trucking companies.
How? We're supposed to be a first world country.
I have no idea.
Because this isn't just, I mean, this is making everyone on the roads unsafe.
Absolutely.
In every state.
Absolutely. Every state. It does not matter your political views. When a truck comes barreling into stopped or slowed traffic, they don't care what your political views are.
No, you're right. What's the bigger threat to the trucking industry right now? Is it the fears of automation, or is it the illegal alien and non-citizen drivers?
Illegal aliens. Absolutely, 100%.
You didn't even hesitate.
No, not at all. I do think there's a part of it that could be like conspiracy agenda. Let's make the trucking industry and truck drivers, human truck drivers, look as bad as possible so we can push automation more. I certainly think that may be part of it. But getting these drivers off the road is far more important right now.
So excited to have my guest in studio, Danielle Chaffin, third-generation trucker. She is super connected in the industry. She knows everybody, and her reporting I've gravitated to because, as we all know, there's a big issue in the trucking industry. The issue is illegal aliens and non-citizens getting hundreds of thousands of CDLs, flooding our roads with truckers that can't speak English, can't read English, and are causing horrific accidents. Danielle's in here, and just to rehash, this isn't an overblown problem, right? Like we're not isolating incidents and yelling about them and creating a mountain out of a molehill, right?
Correct.
How big and how widespread is this issue?
It is, I consider it, and thankfully Secretary Duffy has also called it a national security and safety issue. It is everywhere. There are drivers that are clustered in certain states because those states are more relaxed with what they do or more lax with what they do.
Kind of like a California and Illinois and New York.
Absolutely. Those three in particular. But it's everywhere. I mean, these guys are driving from California down into Florida, up to Illinois. They're everywhere. Everywhere.
I think one of the things that helped me gravitate towards your reporting, though, is the way you can break it down for normal everyday people. I am not a trucker, but you're reporting on X at maybe Danielle with 3 E's at the end. You break it down for everyday people to be able to understand it. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm a trucker. I do understand that there's an issue, and we have a lot of truckers that listen, and they're always speaking to this.
Yeah.
How do we wake up the public to what's going on? Because that's going to be the needle mover, right? Because
absolutely.
The trucking industry has known about this and has been yelling about this since I've been on the air.
Yeah.
Which is, a couple years now. But this isn't a new issue to them. But to get to that critical mass, we got to wake up the public.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that has really helped in this like new wave of attention on the trucking industry, which we've needed for years, is that it is directly connected to all of the other fraud that's happening in the United States. So all of the H-1B visas, all of the NGOs, it is the exact same thing happening in trucking. It's just different ways of doing it.
So in the same way that they're importing people into other industries like tech.
Yes, exactly.
To undercut American workers, they're doing the exact same thing.
It is the exact same thing. Yes.
It's just wash, rinse, and repeat.
Correct.
So how do we tackle this? I mean, you're going to need some sort of legislation somewhere. I'm seeing stories where Breitbart had this last week, a group of Republican legislators pushing legislation that would allow states to grant licenses to migrants who want to drive 18-wheeler trucks. I'm thinking to myself, that's not the way we want to push you guys. We want to push you in the other direction.
Yep, that's it. So the interim final rule by Secretary Duffy and the DOT, that one pulled out several visas. One in particular that has caused the most chaos would be the EAD cards, those employment authorization documents. Those are the easiest to get. That's what the asylum and refugee, the political asylees and refugees.
Like the TPS, the temporary protected status.
Yes, that's what they get.
And we covered this last break, but just to rehash, that's when you're seeing those EAD cards specifically are the ones that are giving us the no name given licenses.
Correct.
So that would be step one.
Yes.
Eliminate that.
So the EAD interim final rule did that. I believe all of the bills, I think there's 3 right now that have been introduced to do something with the non-domiciled. All of them still allow truck drivers or companies to register or request H-2As and H-2Bs for truck drivers. There's not as many of those. It is a more like stringent process to get it. You have to request a certain number of them. The process is much more difficult than EADs and they can do whatever they want. But I looked into, my thing is I always want to like prove myself wrong. If I have an idea or like a conspiracy, a theory, I want to be wrong.
I like that angle. That's a good way to go about it.
I want to be very wrong. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen very often. But with the H-2As and H-2Bs, I just wanted to see how many do we actually have? Do we really need them? And so I looked into every single company that applied for H-2As and H-2Bs. The good companies had less than 10 of them. And so they could find 9 American truck drivers.
And how many, just, ballparking, how many truckers would a good company employ?
It depends. We have like small, mid-size, and very large trucking companies. Small is going to be really anything less than 45 trucks. Mid-size, you're looking at 45 to, 200, 300 trucks.
Okay.
And then large is 300 up to the thousands.
Okay.
But those H-2As and H-2Bs, where we did have legitimate, reputable companies, they only had a handful of them.
Okay.
9 or 10. That's not a handful, but 9 or 10 of them. They could find different drivers. The ones that had hundreds, There was one, for example, that applied and got approved for 113 H-2B visas. It was a freight brokerage that lost its authority in 2005. And so I guess they can still operate as a business, but they lost their authority with the DOT in 2005.
Explain to me just what that means. You lose your authority with the DOT.
So they can't operate in the transportation industry.
Oh, so yet you're operating within the transportation
Correct.
industry.
There was another company, a lot of them are in Texas, the actual trucking ones. There was another company that lost their operating status. So they were out of service. They can't run that trucking company, but they had 3 other trucking companies. And I found the employment, like the job postings, and they were all for like dock workers. So we do not need those loopholes in with the CDLs.
Right.
Because they're really not being used legitimately. And those good, reputable companies that have 9 or 10, I'm not worried about those 9 or 10. They can find 9 or 10 American drivers.
So you would eliminate all those H-2A and H-2B visas?
I would eliminate the entire non-domicile. The concept of the non-domiciled CDL, it would be restricted to American citizens.
So who is going to give you the pushback on that? Is it going to be the trucking companies? Is it going to be the people that own the trucking companies? Is it going to be legislatures? Who, when you're proposing these ideas, because I understand you're connected in the industry, who is turning like a stink eye at you when you're suggesting these things?
Usually it's people that are very high up the chain that really don't have a good understanding of the trucking industry. The ones that I talk to about those H-2As and H-2Bs and they ask for my opinion, I did not have one at the time just because I didn't know enough about the H-2As and H-2Bs. And that's when I went in and looked at every single trucking company. And then I went back to them and said, there is no reason for this.
So does it boil down to valuing numbers on a spreadsheet
Yes.
more than safeties on the roads?
Absolutely. I call that spreadsheet brain.
Spreadsheet brain.
Yeah. And that's what it is because we only have 500 of them. But then every single bill, it's in there to give that authority to the secretary. In the next administration, we may not have Secretary Duffy.
True.
And so the loopholes that are being presented in those bills could get us right back to where we are.
So I have a couple questions. First, you said Secretary Duffy eliminated the EADs. That's the no name given. Have they all been taken off the road?
No. And that would, there's so many of them. I would love if it would happen, but it would be chaos in the logistics and trucking industry if we set all of them as like revoked and have to come out of the truck because there are so many of them.
How long would it take to filter that out? The H-2As, the EADs?
Probably just a few months.
Just a few months.
Yeah. And like I said, the H-2As and H-2Bs, a lot of them that I found weren't really for truck drivers. It was for dock workers or truck helpers, which is a dock worker.
So if there was a deadline of 90 to 100 days to filter these kind of workers out, that would be doable and it wouldn't be a logistics nightmare?
It might still be for just a little bit, but it could be done.
With your expertise, would that minor pain be worth it?
100%.
Now, with Secretary Duffy, you also mentioned that he might not be the transportation secretary. We have 3 years left. Are there steps that he could take that wouldn't be able to be reversed by another administration that would shore this up for the long term? Or are we at the whim of every 2 and 4 years?
Yeah, and that's why, so the interim final rule for the non-domiciled CDLs, if the administration were to end today and it's given to another one, that could be overruled. If one of the bills gets approved and passed while we have this administration, then that one would take a long time to undo or redo. So that is the push on those. We just have to make sure that it's loophole free.
So whose feet do you have to hold to the fire to get this kind of stuff done? Are there any congressional reps or senators that you've spoken to and are taking up this cause? Or are they trying to just keep their head in the sand on this issue a little bit?
I think there are a lot of, we actually had one the other day. I don't even know where he was, to be honest, but he's one that introduced one of the bills that is full of loopholes, and I wish I remembered where he's from. Starts with an R, not where he's from. His last name starts with an R. Rouser. And he got many others to co-sponsor the bill with him. And when we released the information on X, he got so many calls from those co-sponsors that were to the tune of, what have you gotten us into?
Really?
Yes.
Rep Rouser's from North Carolina.
There we
just
go.
For the record.
Yep.
So once he started doing that, people called him because they were upset?
Yeah. Because, I mean, the bill looks good if you don't understand what's going on in the trucking industry. If you don't understand that those H-2As and H-2Bs are really not necessary, then the bill looks fine. Like spreadsheet brain looks fine. But we really just need to do away with the non-domiciled for non-citizens.
And that would solve a lot of this.
Absolutely.
Danielle, I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate your reporting. I want to have you back on and keep this conversation going. In the meantime, we do have a large trucking audience. We have a large audience that's interested in this kind of stuff. A lot of people drive on the highways here, and I think it affects everybody. How can we keep up with your reporting? Where can we find you online?
Yeah. Again, my X or Twitter handle is maybe Danielle with 3 E's at the end. And then my website is daniellechaffin.com.
Danielle Chaffin, she's an unbelievable investigative reporter. She knows about the trucking industry better than I can. We're definitely going to have you back on to follow up on this. Cool?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.